In Luke's Gospel, the disciples told their story of what had happened on the road and how they had recognized Jesus at the breaking of bread. They were still talking about this when Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." In a state of alarm and fright, they thought they were seeing a ghost. But he said, "Why are you so agitated? And why are these doubts rising in your hearts? Look at my hands and feet. Yes, it is I indeed. Touch me and see for yourselves. A ghost has no flesh and bones, as you can see I have." And as he said this, he showed them his hands and feet. Their joy was so great that they could still not believe it, and they stood there, dumbfounded. One of the recurring motifs in the stories of the resurrection are Jesus appearing to his friends, to his disciples, and then proving to them that it is he by showing them his hands and his feet. He shows them the marks of his death, the marks of the suffering that he experienced, and yet shows them that he is now alive. Those marks, that death, are not forgotten, are not wiped out by the resurrection, are not replaced and somehow magically removed, but instead are transformed and seen and understood in a new way. The disciples recognize the risen Jesus because he is the one whose lives they have shared. He is the one who has walked the path of the cross, and he is the one now who brings them hope and joy in the midst of their confusion. I think sometimes we like to wish that all that we have experienced would simply go away, that we could somehow wave a magic wand, and that the journey that we have made to this point would be forgotten like a dream. And instead, we could just move on with our lives, and all would be well, and all would be as it used to be. But I think the story of Easter, the story of the risen Christ appearing to his friends and showing them his hands, his feet, and his side, show us that that is not the way it should be. Our faith, our hope, and our joy in the risen Christ enables us to reflect on the journey we have made to this point and to see that it is part of who we now are, but a part which we now see in a new light, for we recognize in it the presence and the joy of the risen Christ. The challenges and the struggles of the months that have led us to today are not simply forgotten, but are transformed. Perhaps we need to spend some time over the coming days of Easter reflecting on our path of the cross, on the journeys that we have made, on the things that we have experienced alone and together, and to now look at them afresh through God's eyes, and to discern how it is that we are now changed, that we are now transformed, and we can be hope and light to our world. So as we continue to celebrate the joy of Christ, pray that we may recognize his transforming presence in us and around us, and use the things that we have learnt, the journey that we have shared, to enable us to continue to be signs of his living presence to all who are around us.